Hey guys, I'm going to throw you headfirst into radio very quickly with two different options of how to get started. Option 1, ham radio technician license. So your ham radio license is pretty simple. It's a 35 question quiz. There's stuff like ham radio prep or different study guides that you can order to quickly learn the information. You memorize it. You can go and take your exam within the week or whatever and get your license. So the ham radio license will allow you to communicate on different bands with people locally. Basically, you can get access to a local repeater and kind of extend your range to maybe 20 to 50 miles, depending. But it's a great way to get started. You learn the basics, the fundamentals of radio, and you can get started quickly. The second option is SDR, Software Defined Radio. And that is another cheap option. It won't allow you to transmit, but you can listen to the world around you for less than $50. So what that is, software defined radio, is basically, instead of all that stuff coming into super expensive radio hardware, you can just have it coming in, having one of your computers at home process all the information and allow you to listen to it. So basically you can listen to anything from FM radios to aircraft ADS-B transmissions. You can listen to CB radio. You can listen to AM, CB, other ham radio, emergency services. You can listen to pretty much anything with a radio signal that's broadcasting in your area. You can listen to with SDR.
I guess I ain't gonna get no cow big in order. I guess I can't get a cow big sandwich order on a cow big Sunday morning. 714 Q-tip. 714 Q-tip standing by for this sandwich order. Q-tip is standing by. Bye.
Now, a quick asterisk there. You're not going to be able to get everything. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So with that, you will need to tweak settings. You'll need to modify antenna. You'll have to get different positioning in order to hone in on what exactly you want to listen to. Now, both are great options, but for me, I went the ham radio route first because I didn't know anything about it. So in ham radio, they kind of teach you what SDR is, and you also learn the fundamentals of radio. So I would highly recommend you do that if you're completely clueless like I was. Maybe you know a few things about radio and how repeaters work, how a basic radio functions, different frequencies. Then you can just get into software-defined radio. You don't need a license for SDR, and all the software is free. So to get into that is pretty entertaining. You can spend hours just scanning the spectrum, seeing different things, listening to local emergency services. You can listen to, I accidentally eavesdropped on a local church that must have been using a wireless microphone, and I could hear their conversations and their sermons and stuff. So, it's pretty crazy what you can do for $30. So with ham radio, you have 3 different license levels. You have the technician, which is what I am. There's the general and the amateur extra. Basically, as you go higher in those different levels, you get more privileges, or basically larger bands that you're allowed to operate in. So for the technician, you might only get like the 2 meter or the 10 meter band or whatever. But then if you're the amateur extra, you get all the amateur bands from 70 centimeter band up to whatever it is, 80 meters. So there's a huge spectrum, and basically you unlock chunks as you get your licensing. With those different exam levels, they have just more and more knowledge that you have to remember. Basically, it starts off pretty basic and gets you'll get more involved in electronics and things like that, antennas and such. For me, I'm pursuing my general right now. I think the more knowledge, the better, but I kind of took a detour here and got into SDR, which, it's just fun to listen to and play with. So I think I'm just going to keep playing with that. I'm going to start, right now I'm kind of just listening to the radio spectrum, but I'm starting to get more interested in the satellite uplinks and downlinks, so you can receive images from weather satellites, which is pretty cool. You can do radio astronomy. You can take in ADS-B from aircraft and actually track their locations, all with this $30 dongle. So it's pretty sweet. But those are the 2 options I would recommend. If you are completely clueless like I was, there's these 2 paths. There's amateur radio or SDR. You could learn and get a technician license, have it on your resume or whatever, or you have just SDR, just play around. You're not trying to talk to anybody, you just want to listen. Honestly, if I could do it again, I'd probably watch YouTube videos and kind of just know the information and go with SDR because it's so far much more entertaining. Ham radio is kind of like, hey, let's communicate with each other, and it does have a lot of purposes like storm spotting and emergencies and stuff like that. But for me, I'm more interested in just listening to other things. In my pursuit of like this aviation thing where I'm getting my private pilot's license, I've kind of discovered that radio is everywhere. It's in every industry, it's all over the place, and to know how it works is pretty important. So both of these things have helped me kind of familiarize myself with that. You can go online and there's some cool things like when you buy your dongle, there's links to like the signal identification wiki, and when you go on there, you can see that there are tons of signals from all kinds of stuff, from like military to number stations, aviation, maritime. There's so many different things you can like dial into, and if you come across a signal that you're not sure what it is, you can put it in there and kind of find what that signal is. But it's cool, you can like see what a signal is. You could be like, oh, it's some military radar and this is the noise it'll make or the transmission it'll send out. So those kinds of things are fascinating to me, just planes, trains, automobiles kind of deal. But yeah, if you want to get into radio, two great options. Both are super cheap, literally less than $100 for each of them. For me, ham radio, if you're going to go that route, I would recommend ham radio prep. You go on there, take their technician class, and they also have a Baofeng class, which is a very cheap, like $20 radio. So there's a cheap Baofeng UV5R. I put a little fancier antenna on it, which was like $15. But basically, they have a class for that as well to get you set up. So basically, if you took the technician class and you took the Baofeng class, you'll learn all the knowledge and you'll learn the setup info for your first radio. The radio's like $25. So for under $100, you can literally learn all the information, pass your test, get your license, and get a radio and start communicating locally. So that's a great option if you want to go that route. SDR, I think I paid $30 for the RTL-SDR, and you can pay an extra $15 or $20 and get the accessory kit, which comes with like a dipole antenna and some mounting solutions. So you can just start listening to things all around you. So for less than $100 on each side, that is a cheap intro to a lot of hobbies. As a hobby guy, some of these things are very expensive. Aviation, who'd have thought? But seriously, get involved. If you're just sitting around, you're just playing video games all the time and you're bored out of your mind, get into something fun like this. You get to learn while you're doing it, and you'd be surprised where this knowledge is going to pop up and you're like, oh, I understand radios. I know how they work. I know why this radio is not transmitting because of where we're at and what frequency we're using. So things like that are super fun. They're super good to have with you. So I would highly recommend both. I hope you guys get inspired from something like this and get out there, and maybe one day we'll meet each other on the airwaves. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys had a really good time, and we'll see you next time. Like and subscribe.